And I wanted to talk to you about this amazing crowdfunding campaign that Lady Colin Campbell, a good friend of this show, has started for Thomas Markle, the father of the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. Now, this was because
This is the story Meghan Markle doesn't want you to hear. While Meghan and Prince Harry live in million-dollar mansions, with Netflix deals and the world at their feet, her own father, Thomas Markle, just turned 80, struggling with his health and depending on strangers just to pay his medical bills.
he was turning 80 years old, very much struggling in terms of his health, and in particular, he was finding it difficult to pay for exorbitant medical bills because you remember he had a stroke which took away his ability to speak. And despite the fact that his daughter and his son-in-law, Prince Harry, are two of the richest, most privileged people in the world, they are not paying a single thing to help him, not providing a dime towards his medical care. That's despite the fact, of course, that Thomas Markle spent so much of his money not only raising Meghan as a teenager, almost as a solo father, but also paying for her to go through university. The incredible thing is, Sue, this crowdfunder from Lady Colin Campbell has now raised nearly £50,000. Thousands and thousands of people around the world are chipping in to help Thomas Markle. And I do wonder if this is going to shame Meghan a little bit for the
Wonderful.
lack of support.
Good old Lady C. Fantastic. I don't know whether Meghan is shameable, really, is she? I think she might just make her feel that she doesn't need to feel so guilty if she's getting all this money, this 50,000 quid to help him. I don't know. And what I do resent is her complete rejection of her father because he's white, and a complete espousal of the fact that she's black. I mean, she's half black, not white.
And now, Princess Diana's close friend, Sue Cook, has dropped a truth bomb that's shaking royal watchers everywhere. Is Meghan really rejecting her own father? And if so, why? Let's break it down. Thomas Markle, the man who paid for Meghan's private school, her college, even helped her get her first shot in Hollywood, suffered a massive stroke that left him unable to speak.
Yeah. It's very bizarre that, isn't it? It's almost like she embraced Doria because, as you say, it suited her politically, even though, Sue, I've had it confirmed that when Meghan was an aspiring actress in Hollywood, she actually described herself as Caucasian when she was going for roles. So it does feel quite political. And I certainly got the impression that she was embarrassed by the Markle side of the family because the thing is, Sue, they're a good, hard-working American family. I've actually really got to know them over the past few years. They're great. I really, really love them. Actually, Thomas Markle Sr., he's a Democrat. Samantha Markle, she's a big Trump supporter. So they're having the same sorts of conversations that lots of American families are having about politics and disagreeing over Donald Trump, that sort of thing. But Meghan, it just felt like she was so embarrassed by it because I couldn't believe that she was not going to introduce Harry to her own father before their wedding day. I mean, that was bizarre anyway.
Wouldn't you think she'd be proud of the family? Wouldn't you be proud of having an ordinary family with her father as he is and her mother as she is? And you'd have thought she'd want to really boast about them, but rather than hide them away,
Yeah, you
or
would
hide her
think
father
so.
away anyway, and her sister.
You would think so. And you would think she would feel really embarrassed now by the fact that her dad is having to rely partly on this crowdfunder. Although I should stress, because I've spoken to Lady C about this, no one in the Markle family asked for her to launch this crowdfunder. They're actually a very proud family. And this idea that Meghan's dad is some sort of bum is also completely wrong. He was a really successful sound engineer. He worked on General Hospital and Married with Children. He even won an Emmy Award. And what's so interesting is that it was his connections that actually got Meghan started as an actress. So without her dad, it's highly unlikely she would even be married to Prince Harry.
Crazy. All the more reason why she should be proud of them and not. But it's all about wanting to identify as black now, isn't it? As a
Yeah.
person of colour. I hate that
Yeah.
phrase.
So do you think it's almost like she's embarrassed by her white side of the family.
Yes, I think so. I think that's what I think it is. I may be
Yeah.
wrong. It
No,
seems to me that
I think you probably are right. And then the hypocrisy. This is the other thing that I cannot get over, Sue Cook. The shocking hypocrisy. So, we are constantly preached to by both Meghan and Harry about the environment, right? About how we need to be changing our lifestyles. And there is a climate emergency which is going to wipe us all out. And yet, despite the criticism, they continually choose to travel by private jet, which means that they are emitting in one flight more carbon emissions than the average human being probably would do in a year. And this weekend, yet again, Meghan decided to fly by private jet to New York. This was so that she could be pictured alongside her glam mates, Misha, Nunu, and Bobby Brown, the makeup queen, at some sort of event in the Hamptons. This is all because, of course, she's trying to turn herself into a Gwyneth Paltrow style entrepreneur, Sue, with her Montecito orchard brand. But does it not annoy you that she's catching these private jets yet still preaching to us?
With no help from Meghan, Lady Colin Campbell had to start a crowdfunding campaign for his care. And get this, it's raised almost $50,000, not from family, from strangers. So where's Meghan? Think about it. Here's a dad who gave everything, and now? Silence. No calls, no support.
it is plain very annoying. Yes, I do find it very annoying, very irritating. It's just as irritating as those COP conferences, annual bashes with people coming from all around the world in private jets and then having their limousines with their, the American president has 80 limousines waiting at these COP conferences. It's supposed to be about saving the environment, and I hate to think how much of the carbon footprint is eroded by all these private jets and private cars and limousines and stuff. It's so hypocritical.
No, it really is. It really, really is. The other big royal story breaking over the weekend was this report in the Mail on Sunday newspaper by their royal correspondent, which predicted that King Charles may never see Meghan and Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet, again. This is because Harry is making a big deal over the fact that he will not bring the children to the UK or even allow Meghan to come to the UK because they're not going to be provided with security paid for by the government. This almost feels like some form of blackmail against King Charles, because the thing is, Sue, is that unless King Charles wanted to pay for this security personally, he actually can't force the government to provide Harry with security. That's not how it works. This is a Home Office decision.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't understand that. He's not that bright as he sometimes. But I think that's what he's angling for. And I suppose if the king did say to the Home Office, actually, please, can I override this, and please, can you provide him with security? Maybe, maybe they would. So maybe it's just one last ditch hope that he'll get security, and maybe up to a point. I can understand his anxiety, I suppose, what he went through with his mother and, the life he leads now. And he's probably had death threats and all sorts of things. A lot of people really hate him and Meghan, don't they? So I can understand in a way. I do feel a bit sorry for him. I loved Diana. I knew Diana a bit, and she'd have been so upset by all this. So I always think of Diana when I hear about
I know.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think about, because I loved her too. I'm really jealous of the fact that you got to know her, because she was such an incredible woman. But she would be so disappointed, wouldn't she? Because her whole philosophy was about raising Harry to provide William with the support that he was going to need in order to be king.
Just headlines. Meanwhile, Meghan's out there with the royal title, the media spotlight, and a Netflix show. People are finally seeing through it. From flying private jets while preaching about climate change, to freezing out her own father, the public's had enough. The backlash is real.
Yeah, family was everything to her. It was really important, and family unity, and she went through hell in the end, didn't she? Because it all went to smithereens. So I often think she's up there thinking, and Harry now seems to be invoking the Queen, doesn't he? He thinks the Queen will have
Oh,
supported him all the
couldn't
way.
believe that.
That's a bit, yeah, that's a bit of a
Because as
surprise.
if this is what the Queen's priority would be. I mean, I think about this so much, Sue, because you look at Diana and the Queen and you think of the incredible achievements that they made during their life, a true life of service. I mean, think Diana, 36 when she died. Doesn't that just seem crazy now to think about? But she completely changed the national conversation and actually the international conversation too, when it came to the AIDS epidemic, when it came to the scourge of bulimia, when it came to
And
landmines,
yeah,
when, so many issues you can point. Homelessness was another one, and that's been an issue that William has taken on and has now made one of the passions of his adult life.
and drug
And
addiction is another one,
yeah,
and battered women, the refuge for women.
yeah, so wouldn't she be saying to Harry, and I think the Queen would too, stop focusing on the fact that you may have had your phone hacked 20 years ago like Hugh Grant and start actually focusing on some real causes?
And then I think we could like him again. I think he could win us back if he started doing something worthwhile. I
Mm.
think he could do that. Surely there must be some things he could do apart from the Invictus Games. It's the only thing I think I can think of that he does that's of any
That's
use.
like the only good part of his legacy, isn't it? So I've got to ask, how did you meet Diana? Was it when you were presenting Crime Watch?
I present, yeah, Crime Watch, and I did lots of programs before Crime Watch. I did Nationwide, which was on everybody's
Yeah.
TV screens in the evening, and there's Crime Watch and Children in Need, and a legal program I did. And so we used to crop up. I was a patron. She was a patron of refuge to battered women, and I was also a patron for them, an ambassador for them. And so we often used to end up on the same stage when I would give a speech and she would give a speech. And she was always so generous and kind and thoughtful. So a lot of nervous people who would be there to take part in whatever this event was. And she'd be going around saying, "Have you got enough water? Have you made, would you like something to eat? Can I get you anything?" She was just so down to earth and ordinary and thoughtful and empathetic. She was great, really great.
Yeah, I can imagine. I really can imagine that.
I've got a
What a
wonderful picture
shame.
actually still on my wall where um, it was Turning Point she was a patron of, and my little daughter, who was 2, was going to present her with a bunch of flowers when she came through the door of this Turning Point to do a sort of major royal visit. And so we had this bouquet of flowers ready to present to Diana when she came, and I told my 2-year-old daughter, "You're going to be presenting flowers to the princess." So Diana walked in wearing a grey skirt and a grey jacket and a little sort of Chanel bag over her shoulder. And Meghan thought, my daughter thought, "That's not a princess. That's not. I'm not giving the flowers to this woman wearing a grey suit. Where's the princess with the crown and the beautiful gown and everything?" So she took the flowers and hid under a sort of occasional table in the hallway there and refused to give them. Diana thought it was hilarious. So we eventually got my daughter out and managed to get the flowers and give them to
Oh,
Diana.
gosh,
And I've got
wasn't
a
it an
picture.
amazing era?
It's not just about Meghan's actions, but the double standards. The rules for thee, not for me attitude that's got everyone talking. Before I hit you with the final takeaway, smash that subscribe button if you're tired of sugar-coated royal gossip. Here, it's raw facts, real reactions, and unfiltered truth.
The 1990s
Yes,
suit. You were a star at the BBC at the best time, I have
I
to
had
say.
good days. I had the good days. Yes, I did. I was
Yeah,
lucky.
before there was this division and the world was very unified, and I guess there was no social media. We needed to come together for these big events, and certainly when I look at the celebrities of that era, they just don't make them the same way anymore. But it
I
is,
had fun as well. We had a good laugh, and we got together and we drank together and we ate together, and it's much more of a family than now. It's very sort of granular, isn't it?
yeah, no, it is. And I guess people are so nervous now because everyone has a camera phone.
Mm.
It's much more easier to be exposed now, I guess. Back in the
Uh,
day, presumably, Sue, the big worry then was just the news of the world on a Sunday, not wanting to be caught up in some sort of scandal. Whereas now
yeah,
it's constantly X, isn't it, that people have to
yeah,
be concerned about.
yeah. It's a scourge, really.
Yeah, no, it is. But look, such a good point about Diana. I think she would be incredibly disappointed, actually, with Harry about where it's ended up. And so I could speak to you all day, but I've taken enough of your time. So it is such a pleasure to have you here on Outspoken for the first time. Please do come back soon.
It's a pleasure to be here, and congratulations on Ofcom dropping the charges against you as well.
Yes, exactly.
Look, this story isn't just about Meghan Markle. It's about family, loyalty. It's about how fame and power can twist the things that matter most. Thomas Markle isn't perfect, but when it mattered, he was there. Now, he's alone. Would Princess Diana be proud of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Stay curious, stay bold, stay informed.